Forget about the stereotypical Briton with its tea parties and talk about the weather. True British pride was forged in the mud of frontline logistics and in the factories. And it was done by cars that had real engineering magic under the hood. The Commer Company created trucks that were ahead of their time and so unique that competitors simply threw up their hands. But where did this giant disappear to? And how did it happen that an automaker with such a rich history was simply put on the chopping block, turned into a donor for other brands like Dodge and Peugeot? This is the story of the Commer Company, a legend that was forced to disappear. If you enjoy diving into such true automotive classics, hit that like button right now, share your thoughts in the comments, and let's get started. And it all started in 1905, when brothers Frank and John Bellamy founded the company Commercial Cars Limited in Lavender Hill, London. It started by producing bicycles, but just a year later, after moving to Luton, work began on creating the first automobiles. Already in 1907, the company presented one of Britain's first commercial vehicles, a 3-ton chain-driven truck of the SC type, which was equipped with a 30-horsepower engine. Real success came during the First World War, when orders for buses, trucks, and ambulances from the British Army increased sharply. In total, during the war, the company sent about 3,000 vehicles to the Western Front. Additional financial injections allowed for a significant expansion of production, and in the post-war period, passenger cars also appeared in the production program. The war was behind us. The company was transitioning to peacetime operations, but high income taxes for army suppliers served as a reminder of the war. The so-called war tax was introduced in 1915 with a rate of 50% of profits. In 1917, it was raised to 80%, and after the war, it was reduced to 30% and finally abolished only in 1922. It was this additional financial burden, as well as falling sales, that led to the accumulation of debt. In 1926, the semi-bankrupt Commercial Cars Limited was bought out by Humber Limited, which in turn became part of the large British automotive conglomerate Rootes Group in 1928. While part of the conglomerate, the Luton-based automaker focused on producing medium-duty and heavy-duty trucks, which entered the market under the shortened name Commer. One of the most popular trucks was the medium-duty North and LN series, introduced in 1935 for general freight transport. The series included 6 models with payload capacities ranging from 1 to 6 tons. The trucks featured a sturdy frame construction and a cab-over engine layout, which was typical for British automotive manufacturing at the time, unlike the rest of Europe. They were equipped with their own 3.2-liter, 70-horsepower 6-cylinder gasoline engines, and as an option, 4.1-liter engines or Perkins diesels. After civilian production ceased in 1939, a large number of these vehicles entered service with the British Army. But the real star of frontline logistics during World War II was the new Commer Superpoise truck, introduced as the Q Series. It featured a modernized suspension and improved weight distribution for high stability. A characteristic design feature was the narrow, tall hood with rounded grills and massive semicircular fenders. Because of this design, the vehicles were nicknamed Bullnose. During World War II, about 20,000 Commer Superpoise trucks played an important role in Army logistics. The post-war period was a time of reconstruction. In 1948, their utilitarian trucks received a restyling that added smoother lines. But the country was exhausted. Shortages of materials, destroyed infrastructure, and supply chain disruptions for components. There was an especially acute shortage of diesel engines. To avoid depending on external suppliers, particularly Perkins, in 1946, Commer decided to create their own diesel engine and approached it with typical British originality. The development was handled by a group of Humber engineers led by Eric Coy. To create a compact and efficient diesel engine, they categorically rejected the then common inline and V configurations, which took up almost all the space in the cab of cab-over trucks. They decided to do something revolutionary: a 2-stroke diesel engine with an opposed cylinder layout. Where's the revolution here? Imagine 3 cylinders and 3 extra pistons as a bonus. The engine got a compact shape with 3 cylinders, each of which had 2 pistons moving towards each other. All of this worked on a single crankshaft. The 2-stroke mode eliminated the need for a cylinder head, camshaft, and valves, as their role was performed by the pistons themselves, which covered the ports in a housing. Development and refinement took almost 9 years, and it wasn't until 1954 that the world saw the Rootes TS3 engine. It had a displacement of 3.2 liters, 90 horsepower, and was later tuned up to 140 horsepower. Thanks to this engine, Commer built a cab-over truck that its competitors couldn't boast of, the Commer QX model. Drivers getting into the cab were in shock. There was no massive engine towel. The compact engine was placed literally under the seats. The cab did not tow it. The engine could be removed right through the door. These vehicles had one characteristic feature: a ringing clatter at idle due to the supercharger damper. Because of this sound, the truck earned the legendary nickname Commer Knocker. Starting in 1955, the Super Poise hood models also received a restyling in the spirit of the 50s aero style with voluminous shapes. Simple and sturdy, they became workhorses on farms and in municipal services. Commer also made a huge contribution to the development of small businesses: light pickups, express delivery vans based on passenger cars, full-fledged Commer BF vans, and later the famous Commer walkthrough, which became a real hit on the streets. Undoubtedly, the 50s and early 60s were the golden era for Commer, but everything changed in the second half of the 60s. Due to financial problems, the parent company, Rootes, came under the control of the American auto giant Chrysler in 1967. At first, it seemed that things were looking up. Exports expanded, factories were updated, and most trucks received the dual name Commer Dodge. However, the Americans were not fond of the unique British opposed-piston engine. They began developing new, traditional diesel engines, gradually killing off the brand's distinctiveness. The 1973 energy crisis was a real blow. Oil prices skyrocketed and the market collapsed. Factories were closing and thousands of workers ended up on the street. The commercial vehicle niche was rapidly being taken over by German competitors from Mercedes-Benz. Despite multi-million-dollar injections from Chrysler and the British government, the brand was inexorably heading to the bottom. No amount of money could save a company that had lost its identity. Eventually, the remnants of Chrysler Europe were bought for a symbolic $1 by the French group Peugeot Citroën, which inherited the debts. Under their management, the model lineup was ruthlessly cut. Initially, the vans began to be produced under the Talbot brand. Part of the legacy was given over to joint projects with Renault, and in 1990, the last vehicle with Commer roots rolled off the assembly line. By the way, these small vans became a true symbol of Britain, as for many years they served as the official vehicles of the Royal Mail, delivering letters and parcels to almost every corner of the country, and became an integral part of the urban landscape. That is how the story of one of the oldest automotive brands in Great Britain came to an end. The unique automaker simply dissolved into the globalized world, passing from hand to hand. All that remains of it is the melodic tapping of hammers, which still echoes in the engines of rare Commer trucks that have become a true classic of the British engineering school. And what do you think about the history of Commer? Were they treated fairly by the corporations, or was their end inevitable? And what do you think about the idea of a valveless engine? Write your thoughts in the comments. We'd be very interested to read them. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new stories about legendary cars.